Putting the human into technology with Gethin Ellis and Mark Williams. Here at gethinellis.com, whilst we know physical fitness is essential, our mental health is vital too, and our podcast is all about putting the human back into technology, aka the Phit podcast. Now, one thing we can probably all agree on is the last year or so has been unprecedented. So we wanted to seek out the views of technology leaders, business owners, consultants, and many others from a range of different businesses and organisations to discuss with them the impacts on their business, on their humans, and on their technology, and how they see the future unfolding. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Alistair Sargent. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Welcome to part two. This week we're joined by Alistair Sargent of Kpis, and we're going to get straight into the questions, Alistair. Obviously, in part one, you told us a little bit about what you do and what Kpis does, and this digital consultancy and underpinning technical strategy for your client, or underplaying business strategy with technology for your clients, I should say. So with that in mind, and thinking about the word you dislike, as most people do, digital transformation, do you think most organizations need to transform, or do you think it's more about that sort of continual improvement? And why would you pick why is the question?
So I did when we about 18 months ago, I wrote a very long blog around why digital transformation doesn't exist. I went on a bit of a rampage of, let's stop calling it what it is. It's a marketing term. It's no different to cloud technology, and all it is some servers based in a data center somewhere. The problem with
access over the internet, and rent instead of buy.
The problem with digital transformation and people going, oh, we need to do digital transformation, is they've never done a transformation before in the first place. And so actually what they end up with is inability to do even a small project. So my bugbear with it is that, why are you trying to transform something when you have never undertaken any type of project in the first place? And if you really need to transform, then look at the business side piece first, not the technology piece. So I have a mantra of there's no such thing as an IT project. And every time somebody comes to me and says, we've got this digital transformation strategy, and the best ones is, we've just updated our website, that always gets me of, that's nothing to do with it whatsoever. I think as consultants, we're partly to blame for it, for confusing people of what it is and how it works. But also it's been a great marketing piece of just getting people, talking about stuff. For me, every organization should be just going through a digital transition and actually just doing it piece by piece, working out what that North Star looks like, where that aligns to the business strategy, and just getting everybody on board with it there. I know some of the biggest organizations. We've got one university that's, large £50 million transformation, and it still hasn't gone correct. It just doesn't work like that. It has to be done in small parts, small chunks over a long period of time. And that's why I think the transition piece, and I think if you say continual improvement, is really key. The big problem though, is we ask people to do these projects in their day job. And actually it's a full-time role in itself, as we all know. So we're just not geared up for it in the first place when you start these large projects.
And there's so many subsidiary questions to all of that, Alistair, and I'm going to ask one or two, but we'll be here for hours if Gethin lets me loose.
You can ask one. Choose wisely.
How do I do that? Okay, so in the first part, essentially the way I interpreted one of your points was about a lack of, not necessarily a lack of leadership skills per se, but a lack of leadership skills in the context of change and how to prioritize things, and when is something strategy versus tactics, all that sort of side discussions that we could have. And it's kind of interesting for me that sponsoring programs is and how to do it and how to get it set up is one of the things I do, and it never ceases to amaze me how people, we alluded to this a little bit, people who are director of whatever they're a director of, don't ask themselves the question, have I got the skill to do this thing, whatever this thing is? And I guess I probably got two bugbears in my current world. One is that, and it feels like you're kind of saying the same sort of thing with that, and the other is FFS organisations. Please, when the project goes live, can you actually put some money, meaning time, resources, etc., into now making the most of what you've got? And it really drives me up the wall that the problem with leadership, and I guess this is, do you see this? Do you agree with this? Is there a different spin on this? Is that they want to do the sexy thing and move on, and they're not willing to just make the organisation work. It always seems to be about that short-term ticket rather than the way the organisation is going on. And I don't know whether that's because of the way that they're rewarded, or is that because of they've risen to those ranks because they are the brightest star, but in whatever the discipline is that they've come from. So that's a long-winded way of getting about 4 questions into.
I saw you think that in, yeah. I think there's a couple of bits in there that I think you're absolutely right. It's a big bugbear of mine of the project. When it goes live, that's when it really starts. And this is why people fall into we need a transformation trap, because what they do is they invest a shed load of money into a new CRM or an ERP, and then they just let it run. And then 5 years goes, 10 years go, and they go, all right, well, that's broken. We need to transform that again. But actually, if we had that continuous improvement budget, we wouldn't need to transform all the time. We can just stay relevant and keep with that. I think on your leadership point, there's a key part there of what we're not seeing is technology represented good enough at the board level. And actually your point of it's okay for a leader to say that's not my skill set, I'm going to bring someone else in. But I'm not sure I'm seeing that in the clients that I've got. It's still very much territorial. This is my remit and what I need to do. But I think the biggest thing with all of that is actually what I witness is people getting confused with what a vision and a strategy is. So actually what we say is we go, oh, I want to be Disney-enabled for my customers to have self-service. And everyone goes, oh, right, okay. But there's no strategy. And you go, the strategy is the plan on how you're going to get there. So when you're sitting down with a leadership team, you go, yeah, we've got a strategy. It's that. And you go, no, that's a vision. That's where you want to. That's where your North Star is. You haven't defined anywhere how to get there or what you're going to do.
And do you find that in a number of the sectors that we spoke about earlier that you guys are represented in, essentially they have what you might call a serious non-executive board or governing body or something of that sort of nature, which isn't solely the MD, the FD, the ops director, etc. of said businesses. So membership is the easiest example to say. They've usually got some form of board of members, some independent, some there. And a lot of it seems to me is that they always want to know what the pounds, shillings and pence bit of the cost side of it is going to be, more than they want to know what the benefit side is. And they want to go, well, you're starting this program, let's call it a vision, then starting this vision of what you want to do. And they seem to want to know, well, pretty much exactly how much money you're going to spend on it. Well, by definition, you don't know. Surely, because you don't know how that's going to be, how you're going to do it, how long it's going to take, what will good look like, what happens when you come across something that doesn't quite work, what happens when you think of something, when you think you want to do something, and actually it turns out it's not the right thing to do, and you need to do something else. And anyway, there's too much thing going on here from my side. Sorry.
I think it's a really interesting point, because if we focus on membership, for example, right, the definite problem you've got there is exactly how you said of. You should never look at these projects. If your scoring factor is around money, the project's going to fail from the beginning, right? It should be the outcome and the value it's going to deliver back to the organisation. You've got to work out, and that's the conversation we'll have with clients, is how much can you afford? Mm-hmm. And if you can only afford that, then we can work forward on actually what that looks like. The challenge then, as you quite rightly said, Mark, is that when you then get all those other governance procedures in place, it slows everything down. So council only meets every 6 months. Well, we need another 100 grand to get this project going. Could we not start for another 6 months? And that then stifles the whole innovation. And I think if we actually saw, Google type design thinking within organisations and how we drive innovation, and not just looking at the pounds, shillings and pence, we'll see change happen a lot more rapidly and a lot more successfully than it is right now.
Let me move us on. It's probably the same sort of thing, but I'll move us on to the next question, which is the premise behind it is what you spoke about earlier, where you've got sort of individual fiefdoms. I can't remember what your word was, but it wasn't fiefdoms. Individual department focuses in their, that they're only interested in themselves, if you like, and it's around what we've the whole theme of this, which is everything's business driven and business related, not technology related. But frankly, most things have a technology underpinning element, to them, a big one usually. How do you think people should work together to get the right weighting, if you like, or what the right balance of the mix of an investment that you need to take? So, you need to invest in your people or maybe the process, change and development and the technology, because it's so easy to, inverted commas, buy the server for 10 grand or 15 grand and forget about the 50 grand that you need to spend on getting the people to work with whatever the application is that you're stuck on that server. So it's a weighting question. How I'm genuinely interested, it's because you advise all these people, how are you getting them to, I suppose, without trying to give up your IPR, are you getting them to, and if so, how are you getting them to change their thinking about, more towards people perhaps and less from technology, assuming that would have been your answer to the question in the first place? And sorry to lead you, but I'm kind of guessing that's where you might be.
So if I understand the question rightly, if I play that back, how do we get the organisation to look less at the technology but more at the wider softer skills and the change management that needs to go with these programs?
I'm making a leap of faith. Yes, that's the question, and I'm making the leap of faith that that's where you would be as in an answer to what's the weighting between technology and business and people and change investment.
It's a good question. So when we always start these programs, you hear me talk about the North Star quite a lot, and actually the vision and principles that we have within the program are really key. But what most, and you guys will know this as well, what most organisations will forget to do is actually put KPIs on how they're going to measure them down. So the KPI piece is really fundamentally important to do right at the beginning. So in order to meet this, what do we need to change? Where do we need to invest to? Who do we need to backfill? Who do we need to upskill? Who do we need to bring in? Who do we need to partner up with because it's not our skill set? That really comes back down to it's the exec piece at the beginning that needs to take place on that vision and principles and defining what success looks like.
Right. Okay. So it's a lot of that sort of, how can I put it? Embedding at several exec sessions, I assume, over a period of time. Because would it be fair to say that you might have some kind of kickoff session, let's say, with a group of those executives, and say this is the way that it needs to be, and they all go yeah, but then never then next month comes along and they haven't done any of the actions or whatever it might be. So is it that sort of environment?
It's kind of that, but also mixed. We've got a maturity assessment tool that we run, and these are great. So these are online questionnaires which they have to do on their own, and they're loaded questions and they repeat themselves but worded in a very different way. And what I always find interesting, we plan it out onto a spider graph, and the CEO is always in the dead straight of we're here, here, and here, and everyone else on the exec team is always over here. So it's always a great way to visual going back to them and saying, look, guys, you're just not lined up here. This is where you said you were going to go do what you are doing, but every one of you are completely misaligned here.
That's really interesting. I can't show it on here, but there was a brilliant graphic that I remember, and I often draw it, which essentially is you've got an organisation and you've got a series of arrows and they're all supposed to be pointing upwards, and there's like one big arrow encompassing the whole organisation and lots of individual arrows. And then in reality, of course, one arrow is pointing off to the right and one's going backwards and one's going off to the left and all that sort of stuff. And, and then when you go, well, that one's you and that one's you, and they go,
yeah, CEO and CFO that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, where are we? I've lost the plot.
Second question's yours, Mark.
I've just done that one. I'm now about people and weighted, balanced, and technology. Yeah, we've done that. We're on question 73.
You've done organisations want to drive value from data and technology. How do you think people and solutions? Yeah, okay, you have done that one. I'll give you that. All right. So my question then, my bad. So, Alistair, what advice would you give your younger self, or those starting out or changing their career into the sort of IT, I guess the IT space, but advice to your younger self or anyone starting out on a career in the sort of technology digital space?
2 bits: find a mentor, someone that you know and trust that you can go and have a coffee with, that isn't connected to your professional life whatsoever, but someone external that you can go and have those conversations with. And secondly, take the risk. What is the worst that can happen? I mean, when I started out this business, my second baby was due in about 6 weeks' time. To leave a job and start a business with a baby on the way, everyone was telling me not to, but you should always take the risk.
How long have you been going now, Alistair? Because you did some sort of MBO, didn't you, a few years back as well?
Yeah, so business began 8.5 years. We did a management buyout in 2019, so I took control of the business then, and then 2020 we spun it back around again.
And in 2021, just for just to top it off, you decided to move house as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll have a fun one just to bring things to the end then. So tell us a fun fact about yourself that perhaps not too many people or nobody else would know. Clearly, publishable.
A fun fact: I have an identical twin brother who would get mistaken for all the time. To the point, I was once on holiday in Dubai, and my wife got a phone call thinking that my brother was having an affair with somebody else. There was a friend of his that was on the beach that they're also friends with my wife, but we were in Dubai and we got mistaken as my brother. He also shares the same office as me, so he's often caught in the toilet with one of my staff, and they get a bit confused on who's who coming out of the toilet.
I'm not sure we need to ask the follow-up question about what do you mean by caught in the toilet.
Yeah, you might want to censor that.
There's some things, Alistair, that the technology just won't allow us to censor. There.
So, Alistair, do you and your brother work together? Obviously, if you're in the same office, no.
No, we work together.
Yeah.
He's in recruitment.
Right. All right. Okay. Cool. Oh, awesome. And the mistaken identity thing. That is quite funny. All right, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Alistair. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for coming on.
Likewise, thank you, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Phit podcast. Alistair Sargent from Kpis. Thanks for coming on, Alistair.